this does,
We are live now, so.
Oh, what's the topic?
What's the topic for the live today? That's a great question. I don't know. What do you want to talk about? I hadn't really planned on going live because we are...
Booby trapping your bed.
Booby trapping my bed. There's a hot water bottle in it. Sorry. I hadn't really planned on going live at this time, but we have meetings later, so I thought, you know what? I didn't do it yesterday, and you had free time and wanted to join us, so... Yeah, I feel like people can ask whatever they want, and I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all have. Yeah. Do you want to introduce yourself, or do you want to say anything? I got you with your mouth full of toast. Sorry.
Okay. I don't have any other time I could eat breakfast before leave. Hi, my name's Ruth.
Hi, Ruth.
I don't know what the...
So, when I started doing lives a couple of days ago, I thought I would initially have a set topic for every single live, but I really would love to see them be more of a conversation. So I'm definitely happy to answer questions. The live that I did the day before yesterday, I thought, well, I'll start with a certain topic, and then I just took it wherever people wanted to go. So,
out of topics.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm totally open to being, organic and talking about whatever. We're in this live. Let's see if I can get to it. I am trying to finish a sweater that I'm making for one of my kids for Christmas, not this kid. So I'm almost done. It's a vest, actually. So I've got one of the armholes done, and I have to do the next one right here. So I might work on that while we do this live. One of the reasons I thought I would go live right now is because I read some news this morning that just put me in a really bad headspace. News about what establishment Democrats are doing that just put me in an absolute funk. And so I thought, well, I need to turn off political news for a while. I need to not be looking at that if it's getting me in a really negative headspace. Will Trump die before his term ends? Oh, that's a really difficult question. Obviously, not as a physician, I don't know. I think that he's obviously experiencing pretty significant cognitive decline, and as somebody who cared for a parent with dementia, I know that process can take a really long time, right? It can.
Look how long Henry Kissinger held in there.
Yeah, there's a long trajectory. I think that we can be really anxious for a very old person in ill health to experience the reality that they are mortal, and whether or not that will happen on a timeline that is helpful for us, or whether that will happen on a timeline that we can't predict. I don't know.
Do you really want a J.D. Vance presidency?
Yeah,
because he's more lucid.
Yeah, that does then bring forward the question: J.D. Vance would be the successor, and what would that look like? I don't know. Maybe you can answer this, Ruth. What do you think? Because I think there's some of my mutuals have pretty conflicting opinions about whether J.D. Vance would be worse than Donald Trump, or whether he would be, whether he would have a more difficult time holding the cult of MAGA together, whether he would fail outright, right? Whether that would accelerate the fracture and the crumbling of MAGA, or whether he would be more powerful because he has all of this Peter Thiel money behind him, and he's younger, and he's not demented, right? What do you think?
I mean, obviously I'm no expert, but what I sort of feel like is, obviously J.D. Vance would not be able to hold the MAGA cult of personality together, and he cannot build his own cult of personality anywhere near the same. But I do sort of feel like in the short term, if he had a couple years presidency, I kind of feel like he would do more damage. A lot of things...
What do you mean damage?
I mean, in terms of carrying out Project 2025, I almost feel like Trump is more easily distracted. They keep sending him on. I mean, obviously he's doing tons and tons and tons and tons of terrible things. But what was it yesterday? He spent all day writing these hate plaques in the President Portrait Hall of Fame. I don't think J.D. Vance would waste time doing stuff like that. I think he would just try to efficiently carry out Project 2025.
What do you think about J.D. Vance? So for me, okay, speaking of the hate plaque, so having, we took care of Grandpa, And you know how with dementia patients, they will often give them like a baby doll. We had for Grandpa, we had this robotic dog to keep him occupied and happy. And sometimes they'll give them like a laundry basket full of washcloths to fold, right? It's busy work. I think that the White House ballroom is like that. I think that the Kennedy Center stuff is like that. Those plaques were like that. JD Vance doesn't need that kind of a distraction, right? He would want to do terrible things, and he would want to be effective at doing those things. But I wonder in terms of personality clashes, whether, right, like I think Stephen Miller and Russell Vogt are running Donald Trump. That's just my own speculative opinion. But I don't think that JD Vance would let Stephen Miller run him. So I wonder if that would lead to more internal conflict that would make them less successful. I don't know if you have any thoughts there.
I guess that's I'm no expert in that. I can't really say with any certainty.
Mm-hmm. But you think he would do worse things? Do you think he's more ambitious or more?
I feel like the plan is already written. If the plan hadn't been written, it might be different.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really see how JD Vance would have like a different, like, not follow out Project 2025. And I just worry that he would be more efficient at it because
I agree.
He's like all there.
Yeah, I agree. He's young, he's smart. He's not he's deeply uncharismatic, but he's smart. So speaking of the Project 2025, someone in the comments said Miller and Russell Vogt are definitely running Trump. Yeah, I think so. Speaking of Project 2025, what do you think about... Well, I'm going to get back to politics even though I don't want to with Democrats. What do you think about the fact that Democrats don't really have a Project 2029? Like Maxine Dexter, our congresswoman earlier this year at a town hall said that Democrats are working on a Project 2029, but like where is it? And what would that entail? Because I got in this really bad headspace this morning because I was reading the news about how many Democrats voted for the new defense bill that just like gave a bunch of money to Pete Hegseth, and how many establishment Democrats are refusing to be an opposition party or refusing to stand in the way. And then I also read a story, let's see if I can even pull it up here now, that said that, you know, the Democrats have an opportunity for another government shutdown in January, and they're not going to take it. The Democratic leadership in the Senate said that they're not really interested in that. So that's Chuck Schumer. And then the quote I believe I read was from Dick Durbin, who said that they felt the first shutdown accomplished everything that the Senate Democrats hoped it would accomplish, which was raising awareness about how expensive healthcare is and how important the ACA subsidies are. So their goal in this shutdown was just to raise awareness, but not to enact change and not to stop the Republicans, which just, to me, feels like, well, there's establishment corporate Democrats in a nutshell, right? Raising awareness, but not actually doing anything to help us. So for me, I was so pissed because they're already saying, like, we're not going to use the shutdown. We have that power. We're not going to use it. Our goal was never actually to save healthcare or to fix healthcare in any way. We just wanted to raise awareness to make people pissed off about what the Republicans are doing so that they'll vote for us in the midterms, even though we're just going to be controlled opposition. Sorry, I'm rambling. Go ahead.
Well, I think there's your problem. By design, they're never going to have an equivalent to 2025. So all I would say is don't hold your breath on that being what them does it.
I think you raise a good point in that by design, they don't have any ambition of...
They're exactly where they want to be.
They're exactly where they want to be. God, that's so true. Oh. But I don't know that that's true for all Democrats, right? And you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but to me, it feels like there's 2 or even 3 parties within the Democrat Party because we're in this entrenched 2-party system. And I do feel like there are progressives who want something different, but they're being blockaded by Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer.
There are individual people who want to make the systemic change so that it isn't like this. But again, I wouldn't hold my breath on them changing anything by themselves.
How do you feel as a young person? Because for me, you know, I'm 46. And so I, in my lifetime, have been let down by establishment Democrats so many times. But you're watching this in real time. You know, the party that is supposed to be the opposition party against fascism, the party that is supposed to be defending us and our rights and democracy, is just failing over and over. How is that feeling for you as a young person? like who is it in government that you can look to? What is it that gives you kind of hope or direction, or how do you feel about politics watching Democrats fail to like enact change or to even hold the line, right?
Well, I think like, I mean, maybe I'm biased living in Portland, and like my online and in real life circle is maybe more left leaning than people my age in other parts of the world, or like having a different perspective because of how I was raised. But I don't really know anyone of my age who ever really had faith in any politicians or government. Maybe I've known a couple Bernie bros, and I've known a couple like people who really believed in some
I'm just blocking somebody. Keep going. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just don't know. I don't really think our generation has ever had that high of hopes to be crushed to begin with. Like, nothing is really surprising about what Democrats are doing.
Does that make you feel nihilistic? Like, what apathetic? How does that
make me? I know it makes a lot of people feel nihilistic. It doesn't make me feel nihilistic because I've always been of the belief that nihilism isn't helpful or useful. I think nihilism is kind of a lazy cop-out to like, because there are real tangible things that your actions do to help other people, and nihilism absolves you from doing those things and absolves you from putting in any effort. But I do understand why it makes a lot of people in my generation nihilistic.
Pragmatic in the comments said that they just moved to Michigan and are excited to vote for Abdul El-Sayed, who isn't taking big money. I think, do you think that there's a chance to reform the Democratic Party? If you look at Zoran Mamdani, if you look at, what's her name, Katie Wilson in Seattle, if you look here in Portland, right, we have multiple members of the DSA on our city council. We had city council reform here. Do you feel that there is hope for reform, or do you feel that the Democratic Party is just cooked and we should scrap it and try something different?
I guess that's a pretty big question.
Yeah, not to just throw that on you.
I don't know.
This person says, sorry.
I don't know if, I mean, I personally don't think reforming the Democratic Party is going to be the solution, but I don't think that should discourage people from supporting people like Mamdani who are causing real positive change in the world. But
so Mandy says, I'm excited here in Ohio, a progressive is running for Senate in Cleveland.
Yeah, I think like nihilism and disillusionment of the government, and like the way people in my generation feel towards the government and different political parties does sometimes make them shoot themselves in the foot by like being against people like Zoran Mamdani, or like being against people in government who are making positive change. I don't think we should shoot ourselves in the foot. I don't know.
Holy crap, you guys don't look related at all. I don't think we look anything alike. Ruth looks exactly like my mother. She's the spitting image of my mother. I'm hopeful, but not getting my hopes up, if that makes sense. That's sort of how I feel as well. It's frustrating to feel like our choices are kind of people who don't understand and are not prepared for the kind of change that would help us, the American people. They're still beholden to corporations or literal fascists. I think I said in a video yesterday, that's why I'm such a big fan of getting really involved in the primaries, because that's where we have the most ability to enact change. I get frustrated with people who are just constantly preaching third party, but they've done nothing to build that third party. You have to start on a local level. And I know you and I've talked about it before, like Germany has the Bundestag, which has 5 viable parties in it. And I think that the US would be much more resilient. We would have much more of a robust democracy if we did not have a 2-party system. I don't know what you think of that.
I don't know that there's many people who will disagree that the 2-party system sucks, other than people who are benefiting from it.
You haven't seen Blue Anon in my comments. You haven't seen Blue MAGA in my comments. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. You were saying.
No.
What do you think about like the Bundestag, where they have to have these coalition governments, right? So two parties have to come together and compromise. I think that reduces the kind of polarity that we see in the United States, this kind of binary thinking of all this platform or all this platform, and the kind of puritanical politics. If you have to have a coalition and compromise, yeah.
Honestly, I do agree. I do feel like Germany's system is better than our current system.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
I don't know if it's the perfect system, but obviously what we have right now is not working.
Agree.
Even for the flawed vision that the founding fathers had, it is not working.
Indivisible has this Project 2026. I don't know if you have seen anything having to do with it, but it's this plan to organize, especially for the primaries, to vote out corporate Democrats and to push for progressive candidates in the primary cycle. And then the thing that I'm seeing in response to that is establishment Democrats saying, well, then you're going to elect people in the primary who are going to be too progressive for your state or your district, and that's just going to result in Republicans getting elected. What do you think about that? The blue MAGA argument is that, no, we need moderates because otherwise we won't win. But that has not worked out well for us in the past. I don't agree with that, but I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, I do feel like, just from what I've seen online, I feel like a lot of people who were really feeling like nobody left of Joe Biden could get elected. But some people like that have been sort of swayed after the Mamdani election. I don't know. I mean, I don't have like the data to know how many people, but I just feel like there is a kind of shift in the political discussions I'm seeing online. Like people are feeling a little more hopeful that they can vote more progressive. I think that's a good thing.
One of the commenters said we have to vote the old guard Democrats out, right? Those in power. Do you think the influence of older voters is keeping more corporate Dems in power? I don't know
That's another thing I think we would need like data to say anything definitive about.
I don't know that it is necessarily older voters. I think it's money. I think it's really wealthy donors. I think it's corporations. Obviously, as an anti-capitalist, like at the end of the day, I'm going to come back to the fact that Citizens United allowing corporate money, dark money, to run our politics is the problem. I'm not sure that it's necessarily older voters, because they're going for whoever the party nominates and whoever ends up being on the ticket. But who is funding all of that, right? Chuck Schumer is making sure the DCCC is funding really moderate, corporate, much older Democrats. He wants to continue that gerontocracy. He wants to continue to have the same people stay in power. And in doing so, he's hampering the effort to protect democracy and to keep us from falling into a complete autocracy, I think. That's my personal take on it. Someone said they're really worried about TPUSA. I'm going to make a video on this later because I'm also worried about it. The way that they're really trying to reach kids in high schools, having more and more high school groups. There's been a couple of them here in Portland, trying to indoctrinate our kids when they're still children. And I noticed that TPUSA in other states is going in, and the school districts are actually really, really welcoming. PragerU and other ultra-conservative organizations have made a ton of money for many years being installed, their curricula being installed in schools in conservative states. It's been a problem. My mom thought Mamdani was too young and inexperienced. She voted for Cuomo. Whew. Wow. I don't really know what to say about that, because Andrew Cuomo said that he couldn't be left alone in a room with women. He couldn't be trusted alone with women. He harassed more than 11 women. And to me, to see how corporate establishment Democrats over and over again will excuse men who are predatory, excuse the Bill Clintons of the political world because they're able to draw in a ton of money from big donors and do what the big donors want, that to me is a real problem. It's a continual problem. The far right took over Texas education at every level. That has happened in many states. Oklahoma. My husband's tribe is in Oklahoma, and the kids don't want to go there and visit. There are internships they could do, but none of us really want to step foot in Oklahoma because it doesn't feel like a particularly safe place, especially not for women. If you aren't watching TPUSA journalist. It's horrifying, y'all. Yeah. Okay. Follow them on Twitter. I will follow them. I don't twit, but Ruth does, so I'll follow them via Ruth. My mom is actually a Republican. Yeah. Yeah, people saying they'd take their children out of school so fast. I think people don't realize how much these conservative groups infiltrate education and are there to indoctrinate kids. Off topic. I love your earrings. These are from Woodlands Custom Craft. She, I think, is still on TikTok, but also has an Etsy store. I got these the second I saw them, and I love them. Yeah. I feel so sorry for those kids now. Yeah, the state of public education, our children are not having access. Someone earlier in the comments said our kids are not having access to good civics education. And I think that that's really true. We don't know our history. Children are not being given access. They're captive inside a public school for 8-9 hours a day. They're only being fed what these conservatives running public education want them to be fed. The indoctrination is pretty hefty. And I'm not quite sure how to overcome that. It's very easy for us in Portland to say like, oh, kids can just research on their own, or the public school should support open-mindedness and free exploration and a good education. But that's not true for a lot of places in the US. Conservatives have been manipulating the school system since the end of the Civil War. That's true. I agree with that. As a kid in Texas, that was definitely true. Yeah. I used to eat ketchup packets because they never gave us enough food for school lunches. Ruth and I have talked about this. As an unschooler, my kids never really had to experience school lunches and the fact that it's like the lowest bidder. It's how do we feed our children the bare minimum and save the taxpayer as much money as possible. When other countries feed their children, they focus on nutrition and a diverse, like, enjoyable diet at school. And we give our kids like those horrible pizzas and nutrition and a diverse, like, enjoyable diet at school, and we give our kids like those horrible pizzas and for kids. But at the same time, a lot of America's kids depend on the public school for one or two of their meals every day. Yeah. Jeff, I don't know if you have thoughts. I'm sorry, I'm talking your ear off, girl.
No.
I'm trying to read the comments. Yeah. They hated the Black Panthers for feeding communities, right? Let's look to those grassroots organizations who understand what mutual aid and community care is, right? How much vilification has been done of those groups because they were a threat to the establishment. Yeah.
How many times in this year alone have there been like nonprofits trying to give out food to homeless people or just the community, and then cops come in and pour bleach on them?
There's been a lot, like during the government shutdown and when people were not able to access their SNAP, there were so many videos that I saw on Instagram of people who would try and set up these pop-ups to distribute free food, and the cops would come and shut them down. And I think that that's just so emblematic of the way the United States is functioning right now. Yeah.
I mean, we already have more than enough food to feed everyone.
Yeah.
It's just the system preventing it from getting it to people.
Yeah. Someone says they tried to arrest me for it in Lincoln County. Oh gosh. And so many people in Lincoln County are really struggling and really need that kind of community care and mutual aid. ICE came for food pantries. This is something that's been really on my mind a lot, and we've talked about it a lot in my local Indivisible group, is the amount of food insecurity that people are experiencing right now, especially immigrants, and how immigrants are afraid to show up for publicized food pantry days at local churches and other places because they're worried ICE is going to be there to snatch them. And so the threat of ICE, that's the point of it, right? Not only the ethnic cleansing, not only the grift of having billions of dollars go to Core Civic and Geo Group, but also just to institute a reign of terror, to make immigrants feel afraid to function and go about their normal lives. The fact that people are going hungry because they're afraid to show up to food pantries because they might get abducted. It's just, it's horrific. It's horrific that this is what we're living right now. Yeah. People saying they're worried they won't get their food assistance. I know that in Oregon, our governor has made sure that people get SNAP benefits, although I just noticed there's changes coming to SNAP. People are going to have to, I think it's something like almost 10% of Oregonians on SNAP are going to have to reapply or prove they have some level of income that they're getting, some amount of work that they're doing. But I know in other states, people have not gotten their SNAP benefits back who need them. 47 million Americans experience food insecurity. That's more than, it's like 12, almost 14% of our population. In the wealthiest nation on earth, more than 12% of our population is food insecure. Almost 50%, 49.8% of America's children are food insecure. Yeah, I'm just going to block another person. Don't worry, guys. I'm working on getting mods, but in the interim, I'm just gonna block MAGA saying hateful things in my comments. Food trucks are struggling. Oregon. So this is another really good point, right? It's this. Trump wants to make America great again. It's supposed to be this thriving economy, and there have been a number of reports in Portland about how grocery stores are struggling, particularly some of our international stores, the Supermercado and other places like that, because people are afraid to go shop. So it not only hurts immigrants who are becoming more food insecure, but those businesses that sell people food, right? Grocery stores are also hurting as a result.
When are we heading to the coffee shop?
We are going to go to the coffee shop at 1:30. Does that sound okay? Okay.
Driving or walking?
We'll see if it starts raining again. Sorry, one of my other kids is coming in here. Yeah. Busy day today. A lot of appointments. What is your name? My name's Angela. Hi. And this is Ruth.
Oh.
And that was my other adult daughter, B. Yeah. Coffee is life. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm drinking coffee now, and then we're going to go to the coffee shop and have some more. In Parkrose, so our neighborhood is mostly residential, but it used to be all farming. And there are a couple of small businesses in the neighborhood itself. And we had this one business that was vacant for a really long time in 2020, 2021? When was that? They tried to put a strip club or lingerie place in there, but it was lap dance place, but it was right across and down the street from an elementary school. And so the community really pushed back and was like, hey, this is in a residential area. Maybe this is not the place for this. This is not helping revitalize our struggling community. And at the time, our city council didn't really give a shit about us. And we've been a dumping ground for a long time in terms of how the city has treated us. So the community really pushed back. And that business didn't come in, but then it sat vacant for a while. And now it is Parkrose Coffee Shop. It is thriving. It is a hub for the community. They focus on all kinds of community-related events, and we really love going there and patronizing them. So it's within walking distance of our house, and I think it's really good to have those small local businesses that you really invest in. I'm just reading comments, sorry. Hi, Jennifer in Arkansas. Hi. Wow, I'm getting so many comments. I'm having a hard... Thanks for being patient with me while I'm new at this and learning how lives go and trying to keep up with comments. Yeah. Thanks, y'all, for sharing your opinion. I'm sorry if I don't get around to reading all of them out loud as I'm reading and talking at the same time. Ruth, do you have any other thoughts on politics? I said I wasn't going to talk about politics, and then we ended up doing it. Yeah. No.
I need a prompt.
I think
Do you have any non-politics related questions?
Yeah, Ruth.
Not that we're apolitical around here.
Yeah. I'm just reading comments here. In District 3, I was on a cruise with classmates. One was so disconnected. Oh, yeah. J-Sal for Oregon. So one of the things, sorry, Ruth, I'm going to talk about politics again for another second before we leave. One of the things I've been frustrated with is the fact that I would love to, on my channel, either on YouTube or wherever, but be able to interview some of our elected officials. There are some creators who have special access to elected officials because of the programs that they have contracts with, of course. And I've been frustrated to see some of those creators be able to interview my elected officials that I can't get access to. I would love to, in this upcoming race, be able to interview not just incumbent Maxine Dexter, but also Jay Sal for Congress, other people who are running for my congressional district. I would love to be able to platform those folks and give them a chance to explain their positions and why we should be voting for them. When we're looking at reforming the Democratic Party, that when we have these primary races in very solidly blue districts, I personally think that that's the place to push the party further to the left, right? A Democrat is going to win my congressional seat. A Democrat is going to win the Senate seat. Jeff Merkley is up for re-election. Those are the places where we have much more leverage. When we hear kind of like blue MAGA say, we have to vote for a moderate because otherwise if you have a progressive candidate win the primary, then they're going to lose the general election. Well, not in a solidly blue district that will go Democrat no matter what. So I'd love to be able to talk to those folks. Be like, why should we vote for you? What is it that you're doing to craft a plan to get us out of this? Or who are you supporting for leadership? Are you calling for Chuck Schumer to be removed? Are you calling for Supreme Court reform? Like, what is it that you're doing to help get us out of this? Or are you more of the same? Yeah. Yeah. How can we address Trump effectively? I don't know how we can do that. I think that electoralism is only part of it. We can't just elect more Democrats. Like we had Trump before. We resoundingly voted like a complete rejection of all of that. Democrats had control. We had 4 years for them to fix the problem, and they Merrick Garland the shit out of it. And now we're back. Like they didn't stop fascism in those 4 years.
They're right where they want to be.
They're right where they want to be. Yeah. So I don't know in terms of voting. I don't know that we obviously have to vote for a blue wave or whatever, because the choice is like, these guys are literal fascism, but that's not going to fix this. I think it's going to take a lot longer than that to fix this. And it's going to take the people organizing in ways, we can't just show up and vote and think that like magically this will all go away. It's going to take so much more work than that. Yeah. Just reading the comments. I just made a video about this. I'll have to go watch. Yeah, I would love to hear more about primary races where there's definitely going to be a Democrat elected. I would like to hear all across the country more elevation of those primary races and how we can organize to push the party more toward being a party that represents us, the people, and not corporations. And I think the Indivisible's 2026 project, that's part of their goal. That's one of the reasons I'm keep talking them up, because they very much are, we need dark money out of politics. We need corporate interest out of politics. We need elected representation for the people and not for corporations. Yeah. Ruth, do you have any other thoughts on that? Not to put you on the spot. So I think that they're going after Jasmine hard, but Dems are too. I made a video about this yesterday, about Jasmine Crockett. I made a number of videos about it. I definitely think that we should be able to have an opinion about races in other states. But at the end of the day, I really very firmly believe that we should have representation in government. And whoever is elected to the Senate in Texas should represent Texans, which currently right now they don't. Like Ted Cruz does not represent the best interest of Texans. But at the end of the day, I don't think that money should be coming in from outside. We need huge campaign finance reform, and we need to end gerrymandering. We need to end, obviously that's not a play in the Senate race, but it is for Congress. We need to end other forms of voter suppression so that people have representation. The people need representation. Yeah. I realize that's all. There's a level of like naivete I think that I have, but also at the same time, these are things I think we actually have to work toward. It's just, what are the logical steps of what's the plan? What's the rollout of the plan? I hope Jasmine wins. I like Jasmine. I like James Tallarico. I think that they both would govern well. They would both, sorry. I think they both 6'7". I think they both would be good senators for the state. And I think that the voters in Texas should be able to decide. Yeah, we need her to undo what Ken Paxton has done. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Okay, so I'm really sorry. I think we're going to dip so that we can go to the coffee shop. I will try and do a live later. I think we're going to go to a Christmas market tonight. Is that what we're doing? So I don't know if we'll be back on live later, but if not, I'll do it tomorrow. Thanks, guys. Again, thank you for letting me have a learning curve with all of this and kind of muddle through a little bit. And hopefully we'll get better at it, and I'll keep doing it. And I appreciate y'all being here. And also thank my 23-year-old for taking the time on her break to chat with us. I appreciate her coming on too. Yeah, thanks. Y'all take care. We'll be back.
Toodles.
Toodles. If it'll let me exit.